yeah, the first. This is DJ Nicholas on the show. When you hear the trumpet or the flute, know it's a battle. Time me put your vehicle in a drive, get it to travel. Like Mary, you are going to use your foot kick off.
Afternoon and welcome to the mailbox. It is July 9, 2026 in the year of our Lord and Savior. And the topic today is, are Jamaican men scared of marriage? I am Courtney Morrison, and with me is my co-host. And we've been doing this for the past 14 years together. He is none other than the man himself, extraordinaire Kevin Bailey, counseling psychologist who preached up a big message at TLC. Yes, trust me, very impactful message. And he is going to be helping us with this topic today again. Big man, real big man. Kev, what are you on? You good?
Yeah, man. Great.
But good, man. Are Jamaican men scared of marriage? Me not ready yet. It is a phrase we hear all the time, but when it comes to long-term commitment, a major question lingers across our island. Are Jamaican men genuinely scared of marriage? Some say it's the fear of losing independence. Others point to heavy financial pressures, the one they call, and cultural expectations. The common stereotype says Jamaican men avoid commitment. But is that the truth, or is the hesitation really just about readiness? Today, we are tearing down the myths and looking at the facts, and we want to hear from you. What keeps a man from taking that final step to the altar? This is the program designed for men with guests who are men, hosted by two big men, Kevin and Courtney, and is aired every Wednesday unless it's a holiday at 5:30 p.m. right here on Love 101, the family station. It's the mailbox. And I just hand this over to my co-host.
Thank you, Courtney. It's great to be with you. Great to be with the man them from Moran Point in the Grill. I'm Kevin Bailey. To all our listeners, thanks for making Love 101 your station of choice. We're talking about, are Jamaican men scared of marriage? Today, we'll be having a conversation with a special guest, Mr. Delroy Johnson, Executive Director of the Business Eye, alongside Pastor Shane O'Connor, pastor at Arlene Gardens Assembly. Together, they will unpack the social timelines, economic realities, and spiritual dimensions shaping our men today. Courtney, I want to talk a little bit about our guest, Delroy. You're muted, Courtney. Yeah,
this thing is good.
And it's muted again. It's muted again.
Happening? Why is it doing that?
That's
strange. There is, you know what? Oliver Summers say somebody else in here with me, Duppy in here. But anyway, Mr. Delroy Johnson, that's who we're speaking about. He is the Executive Director of the Business Eye. And I'll tell you a little bit about Mr. Delroy Johnson. He is, as I said, the Executive Director of the Business Eye, a business consultancy firm dedicated to supporting entrepreneurs and organizations in achieving growth and compliance. A former head boy of Hydel High School and captain of the school's challenge quiz team, he demonstrated strong leadership and analytical skills from an early age. He previously served as an executive sales representative at JetCon, where he gained valuable experience in sales, client relations, and business development. Building on this foundation, he transitioned into entrepreneurship, successfully establishing his own consultancy. For the past 2 years, Delroy has been working as a training paralegal and business consultant, providing guidance on business formation, regulatory compliance, and strategic development. His work is driven by a commitment to empowering individuals and businesses with the knowledge and the structure needed for long-term success. May you go ahead and introduce our other guest, please?
Sure. As we welcome Delroy, let me tell you a little bit about Pastor Shane O'Connor. Shane O'Connor is a dedicated individual with a profound commitment to serving others and making a positive impact on their lives. He has been an ordained minister for over 18 years, affiliated with the Associated Gospel Assemblies, where his calling lies in spreading the message of faith, hope, and love to those around him. Shane's strong theological foundation and pastoral ministry expertise were honed through his training at the Jamaica Theological Seminary. So, welcome, gentlemen, Delroy, Pastor Shane. Welcome again to the mailbox.
Good evening. Well, good afternoon. So, good afternoon to Delroy.
Evening, Pastor.
Blessings.
Afternoon,
All
sir.
all right. So, before we go straight into some questions, and so just want to remind the man and man them, remember, we want to hear from you. We're live on Facebook and YouTube at Love 101 FM Jamaica. Remember, you can leave your comments via our WhatsApp line at 876-997-3125. That's 876-997-3125. Or call our studio lines to have a conversation with any of these gentlemen here. Will answer all your questions or your commentary. 876-968-8327 or 876-968-8328. Also, we're on TikTok at Love 101 FM Jamaica.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And ladies, we can't do it. So what I say, what do you think keeps a man that final step to the altar? Picture. Anyway, what thing keeps a man from taking that final step to the altar? You can participate in the program by leaving us a message via WhatsApp, Facebook, YouTube. Females, remember, no calls or voice notes are allowed respectfully. You can text us, but no voice notes or call. Thank you.
Right. So, gentlemen, could you
So
join
we're
us?
going to
Our
give a shout
ritual.
out to the man them, which we normally do. Gentlemen,
Go ahead, Courtney.
we seem
Or-
go ahead.
Okay,
Go
seem we're
ahead.
having some delay there. All right, so Pastor Shane Delroy, we,
Some
we
error
normally
in the
just count,
system.
we count to three, and they would
Machine.
just ask you to join us as we say Mandea. So after three, we just in unison say Mandea. All right, 1, 2, 3.
Monday.
Mandea.
Mandea. Yeah,
Mandea.
that's right. Man in the place.
Monday!
Monday.
So, man and man, from Moran Point to Negril, we're very privileged to have Delroy Johnson in the place and Pastor Shane O'Connor. And we're going to be looking at an important topic. Before we head into the main discussion, it's now time for us to get into the segment that we dub Draft, where we preliminarily open the way to our main segment. We want to ask, and I'm going to start with Delroy. Delroy, the question, and then Pastor O'Connor. Are Jamaican men being pressured to get married too early? Yay or nay? And depending on your answer, you can give reason or reasons. All right. Are Jamaican men, from your perspective, being pressured to get married too early? Delroy.
Very interesting question there. I want to say nay.
And tell me why.
Why?
Why you say nay?
Why do I say nay? Well, when do you really know if you're really ready for marriage? Because and what is really too early? Reason being, somebody might be 20 years old and saying that, they are ready, and somebody might be, 50 years old and saying that they are not ready. So it all comes down to the person. So then we can't look at it objectively. We have to look at it subjectively, on an individual type basis. So that's why I said nay.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Delroy. Appreciate
Mhm.
that.
Yes.
Pastor Shane O'Connor. Are Jamaican men being pressured to get married too early?
Well, Sir Bailey, I guess the question needs to be asked in response to your question: who is actually doing the pressuring? Obviously, the focus of attention is on men or males. The question is who is actually doing the pressuring, because it depends on who is doing the pressuring. Where's the pressure coming from in terms of the sector? If we're talking about the feminine gender, we have a yes. Because once both genders get together and there's a period of time that passes in the relationship, the 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 female will want to formalize that relationship. If we're speaking from a church perspective, I could also say to a degree, yes. And of course, scripture makes it, plain, relating to it's better to marry than to burn, etc., etc. And especially if you're in the pastoral field, you're encouraged to get in on the marriage sweepstakes. If you're talking from a societal standpoint, then I don't believe there is a lot of pressure there, because what they want more than anything else is for the man to be financially established, to be able to secure the marital enterprise. So I guess the question is, where is the pressure coming from? Who is it coming from? And that is dependent on whether the man is being pressured in one way or in another way.
Well, thank you for that perspective. And let me get personal with both of you, Delroy and Pastor Shane. Delroy, are you being pressured to get married? Yeah, tell me.
Am I being pressured to get married? Well, Pastor Shane brought up some very interesting points there, as it relates to pastoral sphere in terms of where the pressure is coming from. And I attend the Nazarene Church. I'm not yet full fledged member, but from time to time when the pastor is on the pulpit, he makes some nice comments. He makes some prophecies saying that before the year end, I'm gonna be hearing some cake eating thing going down, early next year.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
the females start to look and say, well, you hear what the pastor just said. The pastor just said some cake eating going go on before the year done. So that means if cake eating going go on before the year done,
Yes.
myself included, being that I'm in the congregation, that means
Yeah.
I would have been preparing myself with a ring to approach a female to let her know that I am, and
Yes.
courting and so on. So I don't want to use the word pressured, but
Yes.
it is something that is introduced from time to time throughout the
Yeah.
sermon on a Sunday. Yes.
Okay, you are encouraged. Thank you
Yes.
so much. Pastor Shane, when we come back, I'm gonna ask you to answer that question too. If you were pressured when you were single. We take our first break. We have been special guest, Pastor Shane O'Connor. and Delroy Johnson, Kevin and Courtney with you. We'll go to the studio, then we'll be right back after
This is Love 101 FM, the family station. It's 5:45.
The Jamaica Agricultural Society, in association with Hypro, presents the Hypro Denby Gospel Extravaganza 2026. Come out for some soul-stirring gospel music on Sunday, August 2, 6 p.m. on the Denby Showground, Maypen, Clarendon. We're closing the curtains on Denby 72 with performances by Kevin Downswell, John Mark Wigan, Prince Sarge, Jody and Pantry, and many more. Admission, adults 1,500, children 600 at the gate. Get your heart redeemed at the Hypro Denby Gospel Extravaganza, Sunday, August 2. Come and be blessed.
That Mega Mart receipt could be worth more than you think. Spend $6,500 or more before GCT. WhatsApp a picture of your receipt and your name to the number provided, and you could be one of our weekly winners in Pick Your Win. Every week, one winner at each Mega Mart store gets the exciting chance to choose the household appliance, home decor, bedding, or wall art of their choice. Don't just shop. Shop for the chance to pick your win. Promotion runs until September 5th, 2026. Only at Mega Mart. Best value by far. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act. Conditions
Come alive, a national call to worship comes to King's House East Lawn, Saturday, August 1, with Michael W. Smith, Hassan, Jermaine Edwards, John Mark Wigan, and more. For a limited time only, save big on your ticket. General, now 5,000. VIP, 15,000. VVIP, 22,000. Gates open at 2 p.m. Tickets available island-wide at Fontana Pharmacy or online at touchstonelink.com. Get your tickets now while stocks last. 100% net proceeds go to charity.
It's game time! Score big with Woman Things. Bring home the championship deals on tiles, bathroom fixtures and vanities, faucets, windows, doors, and so much more. Priced for you to win. Big goals, bigger savings. Only at Home and Things, where everybody is a winner. Visit us at 1215 Providence Way, Anshore, Montego Bay, 17 Old Hope Road, or 68 and a half Constant Spring Road, and get your home ready for victory.
I am a man, I am a man, I am a man, yes. Strong man, integrity man, I am a man.
Welcome back. This is the mailbox here every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. on your favorite station, Love 101 FM. We're very pleased to have Pastor Shane O'Connor and Delroy Johnson as our very special guests, and Kevin and Courtney with you. Before we took the break, Pastor O'Connor, I was asking the question, personally, so Delroy was talking about his encouragement from the pulpit. And yes, for you, before you got married, did you feel pressured?
The only pressure I had was from myself. I think I grew up in a context where singleness was encouraged and treasured, and marriage, of course, was lived out before us in the Christian community in our local church. But I also saw my parents married, and because of what I experienced as being the firstborn, one of 3 sons, I always wanted to get married as early as possible. And of course, when you go into the pastorate and you go out into the field, you're made aware of the sweepstakes. You're a young man, you are single, there are single sisters out there, the potential for suitors as well as the potential for danger. So I was already in courtship while, the latter part of high school into college. I got married at 23. My bride was 21, and we've been together now 24, going 25 years. So
Congrats.
The pressure came, thank you so much, Sir Bailey. And the pressure came from me because I wanted what my parents had. So I wanted to be able to enjoy it for as long as I could. So that pressure came from me and not from church or anywhere else.
Pastor Shane O'Connor, it's so good to hear you as one of the testimonies that makes us know getting married young can last. It often
It's
when we hear it,
it's lasting, yes. It's an ongoing thing. Yeah.
no man, I say it will last, and it is. So it's just interesting to hear. Jamaican men, you both have expressed yourselves, but Do you think, on a whole, our Jamaican men are scared of commitment? And if yes, what's causing that? Sir Shane? I mean, Sir Johnson.
Some very interesting questions you two capable hosts are asking here, Mr. Morrison and Mr. Bailey here. All right. So a lot of things are happening. We are in the social media age, and the truth is that a lot of persons are seeing examples from all over, and some of the examples are not so good. And because there's so much bad press, let me say that there's so much bad press on the institution of marriage, I think that's one of the big factors as it relates to marriage, where persons are saying, no, don't get married because the last guy from XYZ place, he got married and it ended this way, and so on and so forth. And a lot of young persons, in my space, have expressed this to me, young men. And as Pastor Shane said, he grew up seeing his parents married. Myself also. And is a institution where I've seen so much beauty come out of it. But I think there is a genuine fear, though, as it relates to the bad press that persons would have seen. So you're seeing more airplay for divorce and how bad things ended for so many persons. So you're not seeing more good, being attributed to marriage. You're seeing more bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks, Delroy. Pastor Shane, your perspective on this. Are Jamaican men scared of marriage? In your evaluation, your perspective, interactions, what's your take on this?
It's a very tough question, and one I wish I could more functionally communicate statistically. What I can say is, when you look at the statistics which bear out that whether you're a believer or not, marriages are challenged, almost neck and neck, 49, 51, 50, 50. So, whether somebody's saved or not, what it's pointing to is that marriage is more than just, love at first sight, or it's more than just a feeling. In fact, marriage requires a maturity that, unfortunately, a lot of men are not willing or able to contend with when compared to the female counterpart. When you consider psychologically the male and female species as they develop, women generally are more mature for a period of time, and then men tend to catch up at a certain phase. However, I think the issue is more so about commitment right across the board. It's not just commitment to marriage, but commitment even at the relational level, which will lead toward the marital plane, where, and I can say this, it's a multi-layered, multifaceted, multi-pronged, dynamic issue. It's not a one issue that can point to the reality of men having difficulty with commitment or wanting to get married. I think it's a multi-layered challenge, and a lot of it starts by how men were raised as boys coming up, how they are introduced to the female species, the way the female species is described, and how the male species is described. And the person with that responsibility, the male species, going on, speaking to what Delroy said, the example that is needed. I was surrounded by not just my own parents, but I was surrounded by men who were married for 50 years, 40 years, and I wanted what they had. I wasn't afraid of the commitment, but one of the things I was aware of going in was that marriage was hard work. And I think it's the hard work facet of it that brings a lot of challenge to the fore, where the male counterpart is, for the most part, not ready or able to demonstrate that level of maturity to produce the kind of marriage that is worthwhile. So I think there is a genuine fear. To what degree, I can't say, but what I can say is that it is multifaceted and multi-pronged. And that's some of the things I guess we'll look at as we go along.
Pastor, thank you very much for sharing that perspective. What should that maturity look like? We only have a couple of minutes, because a man might be listening and said, describe that maturity. Tell us what that looks like. We're talking about relational, we're talking about multifaceted, we're talking about being layered as well. Sir Johnson, before we break, you have 3 minutes to help us. What should this maturity, what should this commitment tell us, so that the men and the boys who are listening can at least have an idea, perspective as to what to do?
Like I said, very hard hitting questions here. What does that look like? I've heard so many pastors talk about this. What I will say is that when we look at what is happening on TV, like you're watching a movie, and you say, this is what a marriage looks like. There's so much behind the scenes work. So what I would say is, as a man, what we should be learning is accountability, what it means to be a king, and also what are the rules involved in covering your household, because that's what any learned theologian or pastor would definitely be encouraging you to do before we get to any fancy roses and all of that nice stuff. We're talking about spiritual covering, financial covering, and those are the two biggest things in terms of what I would have learned over my time, even though I'm not married as yet. But financial and spiritual covering, those are two of the biggest things in terms of husbandry.
Thank you, Delroy Johnson. Spiritual covering, also talking about financial covering, and I believe we need Pastor Shane O'Connor to talk about what does the mature man being ready for this commitment. But I think we're going to take our break so that we can give you full time to answer that, Pastor Shane O'Connor, Kevin and Courtney in the place. We go to the studio, and then we're going to be right back after this.
I am a man, yes. Strong man. Integrity man. I am a man. Hey, man.
One Jamaica, one more year.
Jamaica's biggest celebration of national pride is here. Join the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport for the Independence Grand Gala 2026 on Thursday, August 6, beginning at 6 p.m. at the National Stadium. This year's celebration marks Jamaica's 64th year of independence under the theme, United in Celebrating Resilience. Listen to live highlights on Love 101 FM's social media pages at 6 p.m. and live on radio at 7 p.m. That's the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport Independence Grand Gala 2026, Thursday, August 6 at 6 p.m. live on Love 101 FM, the family station.
Will always shine.
This is Love 101 FM, the family station. It's 6 o'clock.
I am a man, I am a man, I am a man, yes. Strong man, integrity man, I am a man.
Welcome back. This is the mailbox here every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Courtney and Kevin in the place. Our very special guests, Pastor Shane O'Connor and Delroy Johnson. Before we take the break, Courtney asked the question, what does this mature man look like? What are certain characteristics, if you were to describe? And men listening, they want to know if they are ready for marriage. And what a big undertaking. But Pastor Shane O'Connor, what are some of the things that you would say necessary for the man to know that he's mature enough, he's ready for the commitment and ready for marriage?
There's you consider the facets of the human being, the spiritual and the emotional, which is what Delroy mentioned. But there are others: the spiritual, the social, the emotional, the social, the financial, the physical, and the psychological. And all of those facets of the human being, male or female, are critical to the establishing of wholesome relationships. And in the context that we are speaking, we're talking about marriage. It doesn't matter whether you are saved or not, with the exception of the spiritual side and the covering of the family and leading the family as God would have you to. The male, whether saved or not, has to portray a certain level of maturity in these areas, because ultimately, if you are not at the phase or state where you are demonstrating selflessness toward your partner or the person that you believe you would want to spend the rest of your life with, if your priority is not that individual in your mind's eye when compared to everything else in your life, with the exception of God, of course, then you know you are not ready for marriage, among other things. Because one of the things I tell married couples, and I give them what I call foundational principles: loving your spouse, giving 100% to each other, maintaining an interlocking principle, which is where you learn from each other. This is where the relationship is built. Developing a team ideology, because ultimately you are a team. And finally, the banking ritual, meaning your uploading of what is called depositing, love deposits, versus the withdrawals that you must make as a human being. If you notice what wires all of them together is selflessness toward the individual. And if your pursuit outside of God, if your pursuit doesn't have that individual as being primary, then your maturity is not where it ought to be. And so I would say, don't engage in marriage until you would have satisfied the protocols that are related to these facets or these principles.
Pastor Shane, one would probably say more than 80% of our men or even women, based on that, perspective we just gave, would not be ready at all.
Right.
How then do you suppose we can get our men to get to that place of spiritual maturity, financial, emotional, psychological maturity? How do we, therefore, the man is listening and say, boy, after I listen to that, I'm not even sure why I'm even get married in the first place, because I'm not there. So how do we ensure that we help our men to inculcate in them that which you just described? And boy, Delroy, you face the hard question then for you, because you mentioned it. How do we help them to achieve that? You find men who are not, and so they want to know how to get there.
No, that question is for me, Sir Courtney.
Sir Johnson, definitely.
Right. So quickly, I think there has to be a deliberate attempt, as much as we're doing right now, to have fora where men have the opportunity to be impacted by men such as yourselves who are married and who are living out these godly principles within your marriage. I wasn't born with these traits. Yes, I have the various facets, but they were all immature. But I was surrounded by men. God placed me in the midst of a local assembly where I had imperfect men who lived out these principles before me, even before I gave them a title or some kind of definition. And then I was able to watch them, learn from them, speak to them. I think too many men surround themselves with other men who either don't have the experience of being married or their marriage experience is very, very poor, or they surround themselves with too many men who don't have the support system being poured into them. It's very important to surround yourselves with men who are advanced and who are ahead, who can help you to take advantage of the maturity that is needed to learn from them and grow from them. Mentoring is critical. So I think one needs to open oneself to that, or that particular senior man goes after those juniors and helps them to appreciate that this is what it takes to not just be a man, but also to be a married man. Because that's the benefit I had. And my father never sat down with me, by the way, and said, this is what we're to do. But I was able to sit and watch, ask questions.
Some things are taught, some things are caught.
Yes. Reading. Literally buying a book and advancing yourself and preparing yourself, learning from other marriages as they're doing well and also marriages as they're struggling or failing. And then building an ethos from which you can now catapult into your own adventure.
Oh, thank you so much, Pastor O'Connor. Delroy, your perspective, knowing that you're not married, but one day, right? You're moving towards it. So, how do you think you're getting what you need to get? Do you feel a sense that the environment, or should we be doing something different for more clarity for you, as Pastor Shane O'Connor spoke? Oh, the experience for you. Are you being prepared? You feel you're getting enough so that you can be ready for this marriage?
Like I said earlier, it is so it's challenging to be, what should I say, objective. It's really a subjective topic, meaning that everyone prepares differently. But to answer your question definitively though, you see, learn, as Pastor said earlier, mentorship, because mentorship helps us to avoid a lot of mistakes and pitfalls, because you can draw from their wisdom. And one of the things I would have seen in my family, on both sides, both maternal and paternal, is that there are a lot of successful marriages. And that alone won't be able to prepare you, so to speak. But I know a lot of persons are familiar with Pastor Cavan Allen, who does a lot of work with young men across the island and stuff like that. And as Pastor Shane said earlier, being deliberate, being more intentional, going out and seeking persons who we can mentor, because this is something that is definitely necessary. We need males in leadership roles, and it starts at the home. For myself, I can say that, praying for, wisdom is really crucial, but also being more intentional is a big challenge, And when I say be more intentional, just looking at someone, looking from the outside on their marriage is not giving you the information that you need. Sometimes what we have to do is grab the bull by the horns, so to speak, and see a man who has been married for 50 years and ask him, not necessarily ask him what the secret sauce is, but ask him what it takes to build such a strong foundation. What does it take to, carry out a legacy like this, one that is, one to speak of.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, no, thank you, Delroy. A question I want your perspective, both of you, starting with Pastor O'Connor, as looking at some stats in 2001, we had over 25,000 plus marriages in Jamaica. And then by 2023, it had gone down to 8,900 and something, coming from 25,000 plus in 2001 to 8,900 and something in 2023. I haven't seen the recent stats, but it has been decreasing. What is happening? A lot of cohabitation or common law relationship are shocking up. And so men are not rushing into marriages. So how are we going to change this when the culture says you can have your cake and eat it, or have your pudding and yam at the same time? A little perspective, gentlemen, Pastor Shane, with this cultural thing as a battle. How we deal with that?
It's going to require re-education, and the church has to take the lead, where we present marriage as something to strive toward. It's the way God promotes family. It is the way God uses these imperfect individuals to maintain the nation, to support the nation. And with all the statistics we have, Sir Bailey, one of the things we can't escape is that the more we avoid strengthening families or building families, is the more the fabric of the nation is torn apart. You look at the birth certificates and you'll see, even though the numbers are climbing of fathers, the names are being visibly seen, the reality is fathers need to play more of an integral role in the development of children, and the lack thereof, how it impacts boys, how it impacts gangs, how it impacts crime, how it impacts the prison system, how it impacts tertiary education, etc., etc. The church has to take the lead again, and we need to communicate to our boys and girls, and I'm very passionate about this, at the primary level, at the prep level, especially there when they are able to understand. Help them to appreciate what makes a boy, a girl, and how the sexes are being developed, how they are being trained, and the various roles they're being raised to take over, and the best contexts that these roles are to function in. Yes, you have success stories in roles that are skewed, but God being creator, God being sovereign, and how he impacts the individual, it's the church that has to take the lead again. Sunday school, Sabbath school, in our preaching on a Sunday morning, how we approach the presentation about families, about husbands taking the lead, about men going to the forefront, being a good father. And there's the scripture is replete with poor fatherhood, really great fatherhood, great motherhood, etc. We just need to extol the virtues of marriage, family life, from the context of scripture, and only the church can lead that charge.
Agreed, Pastor O'Connor, Shane O'Connor. The question will remain, and we're going for a final break. What if you have decided to take the lead, but who you're leading decided not to follow, and you're already in marriage? What do you do? Some of our Jamaican men, based on the latest find in terms of DNA revelation, shows that 2/3 of Jamaican fathers are not fathering children that are their own. So there may be real reasons to feel scared. So we're up on our final break. This is the mailbox. Pastor Courtney Morrison here along with Kevin Bailey. and our two guests, Pastor Shane O'Connor and Mr. Delroy Johnson. We come right back after this break.
I am a man, I am a man, I am a man, yes.
This is
Hey, turn up to 25. Turn up to 25.
Turn up your winning system with Digicel.
The time brought to you by Digicel is
6:15.
Hey, turn up to 25. Turn up to 25. Could I drive out fresh in a MG ride with a staycation, all inclusive flex? Yeah. I touch a million cash. Yes, smart TV, PS5. I know I'm upgrade.
Turn up your winning system with Digicel. Sign up or switch to postpaid or Digicel Plus. Buy a SIM. Top up with 5 bills or more. Buy a 7-day plan or higher. A smartphone deal or just pay your bill. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act. Promotion period June 24 to September 5, 2026. Visit DigicelJamaica.com for terms and conditions.
I am a man, I am a man, I am a man, yes. Strong man, integrity man, I am a man. I am a man, I am.
Welcome back to the mailbox. We're sitting here talking about are men scared of commitment? And quite interestingly, we talked about how to navigate marriage and some of the reasons men might not be matching up to the accountability, the responsibility, and the commitment level. And so we looked at that. But what if that man has decided to take on the commitment of leadership, but is not getting the required participation? How does he navigate that? What does he do? So some men are genuinely scared, as far as I know, and so some men are afraid of it not working. That's a fear. How do I go in, and if it doesn't work, if I get to a place, how can we help those men to come to a place of confidence in ensuring that they can navigate the commitment of the marriage? Sir Delroy Johnson, I'll start with you.
All right.
I
So
probably start with you, because probably you're not even certain yet, right? I should start with Pastor Shane, and then you.
No, man.
Pastor Shane, you want me to start with you? You can manage.
I want to answer the question from before we went to the break.
Okay.
I want to follow up on a point as it relates to the financial losses that persons consider before making that big commitment, and that is something that is on the forefront of the males' minds, where persons would have seen social media and their peers who would have entered into the commitment and it did not go the way that they would have planned it, for legal ramifications, and also as it relates to the financial requirements that are required for maintaining the marriage. Because everybody talks about the wedding day, and it's really nice, and the dress, and the pictures are really nice. But when we get to the day-to-day, if things don't work out at the end of the day, and we have to part ways, it can be very expensive for both parties. So that's something that persons really definitely do consider before making that big, bold step.
Okay. And hearing you say that, as I was asking, so he decides to take the commitment, but part of his fear, what if he loses his job? What if he finds out that one of the children is not his inside the marriage? How does he navigate? Because we're also looking at the issue of maintaining that marriage and keeping it. Pastor Shane, the men who are listening who are saying, boy, I'm afraid to start the men already yet. I'm not sure if I'm willing to take on the emotional hardships that may come with this. I mean, one things I do in premarital counseling say marriage can be blissful, but it can also cause blisters. How does he navigate those traumas?
My mother told me when I was getting married 24 years ago, she said marriage. Her mother told her and she told me marriage have teeth. But one of the things I went into with marriage, biblically, there is no hope for parole. There is no out clause outside of death do us part. No, I know that there are provisos in scripture that one can use, infidelity, etc. We can take it further, abuse, all of that. But the clause in the vows, for better for worse, richer for poorer, sickness and in health till death do us part. I can tell you, I know what it's like to not have a job for a period of time. And if it weren't for my wife, it would have been a totally different scenario. You have to go into your marriage understanding that the person you married today will not be the same person tomorrow. And that is also applicable to you. Now, the reality is, because of the nature of change and the circumstances very often that come to bear, that causes us to change, the both of you will have to be mindful that as you both are changing, it's important that you both change together. That requires conversation, that requires attention, that requires focus. It's a lifelong pursuit that you do together. And there are some persons who are afraid to jump into that because of the potential of something like that happening. Yet what is also interesting is that those same persons, they don't want to get married because they see marriage as a trap if that were to happen. But those are the same persons who are shacking up at the same time. They're doing everything else that is found in marriage except putting on the ring because they're afraid of the contractual arrangement. They want to be able to come and go as they please. They don't want to have the legal ramifications of it if things were to go bad. If you go into your marriage with that on the forefront of your mind, you have already defeated your marriage from the very jump. When my wife and myself were getting together, we have divorces in our families and stuff like that. We decided that would not be us. That was not going to be us, and we were never going to play or placate toward that reality. So if you go in already fearing that you're going to encounter something like that, I guarantee that the first sign of trouble by way of communication or conversation, by way of misunderstanding, the various isms and schisms that you're going to find in it, you're going to look for the first exit. And that's where maturity comes in. Because every successful marriage is bound to go through difficulty. It's related to business, every successful business, every successful father-son, father-daughter, mother-daughter, mother-son, relationships on a whole, you must go through difficulty. So you have to prepare yourself for that reality. The same challenges you're having now with your relationships will be the same challenges that you're going to have in your marriage. The only difference is you need to wrap your mind around the reality that once the ring goes on, there are legal ramifications that come with that. So let me close with this. Choose your partner wisely. And it cannot just be about the sex, which from a biblical perspective, you know how that go already. Cart before the horse. It cannot just be about the sound. It cannot just be about the look. It has to be about in-depth investigation, your values, their outlook on life, and taking your time to do the investigations, the family they come from, who they're related to, who they like, etc., etc. So that when you say I do, you already are armed to the teeth with all the information you need. And it is somebody who is willing to open themselves up to scrutiny and to talk about the realities that are happening between you. If you don't have that, don't go down.
A voice there of Pastor Shane O'Connor. Pastor Shane, I think you mentioned you've been married for 25 years, right? 24 years. 24 years. Samantha Bennett Russell, happily married to the wonderful Adrian Russell. I believe the greatest pressure on a Christian man to marry doesn't come from society, the church, or pastors. It comes from within. The natural desire for love, companionship, and intimacy creates that pressure. As believers, however, we are called to respond to those desires God's way. As Paul says, it is better to marry than to burn with passion. So in my view, marriage is not about giving in to external pressure. It is about responding to an internal desire with obedience to God's design. The pressure is internal, but the response is biblical. Thank you for your contribution. And I want to ask if any of you want to say anything, but just because of the time, proper preparation prevents poor performance. Are we doing enough with premarital counseling? Delroy, your take on premarital counseling, because what that is one of the number one predictors of divorce is lack of adequate preparation for marriage. And then I'm gonna ask Pastor Shane O'Connor to take a view on that. What's your take on premarital counseling? Is it important? Is it something that you would do, Delroy, before marriage?
I've never gone to a premarital counseling session, but what I will say is that I will definitely be doing premarital counseling. Reason being, you're going to be getting counsel from somebody who has wisdom. And the Bible tells us that wisdom is something that we should be searching for assiduously. And as such, because premarital counseling is helping you to build out this foundation. Because as Pastor Shane said earlier, who you marry is more important than when you get married, you know. That is something that I think is a misconception, is a myth that we need to debunk here on the mailbox this evening. Who you marry is more important than when you get married. Because I don't know if many of us are familiar with, you know, I watch a lot of videos on YouTube and so on. And a lot of billionaires would have admitted that their partner is not that their partner is the person who comes up with the ideas, but their ideas sometimes sound so out of the world, kind of Mars-like ideas. But their partner is able to learn them and learn what it is to be with somebody who has these grand ideas and is able to support them in a way that is kind of like when Noah was building the ark. You understand? So if somebody comes up and says, you know, no rain not falling, and you just see a man building a big boat, you understand what I'm saying? You know, you need that kind of support at home to say, well, our husband building a ark. We're not seeing any rain, you know. But when the rain starts, you're like, oh, yes, my house is covered. Yes.
Oh, thank you, Pastor Shane.
Yeah, I mean,
we're wrapping up, but just before you say in a few seconds, Cherry says, good afternoon, man talk. I can't see through a man and a woman living together for up to years and not married. Persons need to go into marriage with a reality checklist. All right, I know we just have a few seconds. Your take on the premarital preparation.
Premarital counseling doesn't guarantee that your marriage is going to work. It doesn't. But it does help. It does help. Reading the driver's the road code, the driver's manual doesn't make you doesn't you can drive a car without it, but it does help in knowing what the signs mean and how to be a better motorist. The more giving yourself the best shot possible to have a successful marriage, learning from others who have gone before, who are doing it, who are living it. And these, I'm seeing now a lot of couples get ready for marriage, and they're coming to you after the date is set. The date is set, everything is bought, everything is being set out there, and they're coming to you now as if what you're about to say is going to make any real difference when it really should have been done a while back. So I'm saying, if you're not willing to put in the work, even after Brother Bailey and Brother Courtney said this is what should be done or could be done, if you're not willing to put in the work, then it's not going to be of any help. The Bible is like that. Read it, apply it, live it, and you will be blessed.
Great, great, great words to end. Boy, the time fly off. Just want to say thanks so much to our special guest, Delroy Johnson, and to Pastor Shane O'Connor. Thanks to Jermaine Johnson, our producer, and Nico Angus for technical support. And we really appreciate you, gentlemen. We end the show with this quote: marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled, but warmongers and adulterers God will judge. Hebrews 13:4. That's the King James Version.
And that's it for the program. Until next week, Wednesday, same place, same time at 5:30. This is Pastor Courtney Morris along with Kevin Bailey saying, Monday! I'll see you
Monday,
in That's it.
Thanks, gentlemen. Have a good night.
Yes,
Bless you.
strong man,
Welcome.
integrity man. I am a man.
You're tuned to Family Radio in Jamaica. We love 101 FM. The time is now 6:31, and there's time for us now to check out what's happening